question this panel now will have to answer is, when AI can negotiate tail spend autonomously, what does that mean for procurement teams and how they are built, run, and measured? Maybe we start with you, Luiz. Luiz, Stanmore operates in one of Australia's most demanding resource environments. Tail spend in mining and logistics can be enormous, I assume, and also, assumably, largely unmanaged, I guess, right? So what does that problem actually look like on the ground? And how do you think autonomous negotiation can actually change the equation?
Thanks, Daniel. Just before I answer your question, more context on our company. So Stanmore is a mining company, coal business related. We grow very fast. So 4 years ago, we were 200 million market share price, and then now we are 2 billion. So that was for merger and acquisition, so from some sites from BHP. So on that acquisition, we have to set up the procurement team from the start. So, and the mandate and the strategy from the company was to be a lean organization. So, and the tail span was left behind. So I know what the focus is. So I think yesterday we discussed about the 20% to 80% where to focus. So the tail span was always left behind. So with that, autonomous negotiations can help to expand the procurement reach. So you can have more savings, more reach, scale your procurement team. So it means that with the same lean organization, same number of people, I can deliver more. So I think Andrea quoted some 26 million savings there. I think that number can go just north of that.
Awesome, thank you. Khairul, as CPO of DRB-HICOM, you oversee procurement across an incredibly complex conglomerate, right? Automotive, services, infrastructure. Tell us about your S2P journey with Zycus. And when you look at agentic AI and how it enters the equation, where do you see the biggest real-world impact first?
Right. Thanks, Daniel. A bit of background. DRB-HICOM is one of the biggest conglomerates in Malaysia. We operate with 82 operating companies in six sectors. Managing these complex organizations means always a continuous battle, which is fragmented and siloed data. So our journey with Zycus started 7 years ago. When we look at how we want to transform the organization, we look in 3 phases. Consolidate, standardize, and optimize. Those 3 phases. We consolidate all our spend data, and then with the help of Zycus, we standardize our processes on the upstream procurements with source to contract. And then recently, we just started the implementation of P2P with the hope that we could digitize our downstream procurement, which is a P2P cycles. So moving forward, then we in the right track. I guess the next frontier is really on agentic AI, the ones that execute, not only suggest. So we strongly believe when we run our data, 50% of our transactions are either low value or tail end spend. So those are the areas that we said this must be taken by agentic AI, or so to say intake management and also ANA in our case. So again, that will free up our procurement staff to be more strategic, because it's always the battle. When I started in the organization, about 80% of the time I was spending a lot on transactional and tactical. Very much less. I think we only manage with our bandwidth that we have, we only manage to negotiate 20% of high value contract. All the rest rather unmanaged, or we don't really have time to look into. So with this approach with agentic AI, we hope we could solve many of our issues.
Thank you. Maybe a question to both of you. When the both of you first saw autonomous negotiation for tail spend, what was the conversation inside your teams like, and what did you do to actually make people lean in?
So I think people think about what's for me, what's my role will be impacted. But I think that the challenge is how many times a procurement professional complain about, I didn't have time to do this task, this strategic task. So I think as you unpack that with them, they realize that, yes, if I take that noise from me, I can focus on something else. So we supported the stakeholders, so there's a lot of operational people. And I think my challenge for us when we embark on that journey is the suppliers and the stakeholders should not see any difference. So if you're managing by a tool or managing by a person, negotiating should be smooth. So the results should be there, and then the operations should get what they want. So no impact on them. But then the team came on board and said, yes, makes sense, let's go. And we are implementing Zycus as we speak. So I think there's a lot of conversations last night about when is the go live. I think I heard May. So let's see if you can deliver that.
Yeah, great. Khairul?
Right, I guess DRB-HICOM is a 50 years organization. When I first speak about autonomous negotiations to my seasoned procurement professional, you know what all the answer is, yeah? They were asking me, are you sure that the machine can do a better job than me? So that's the first question. And then they said, what if the machines can only negotiate 2% while we can negotiate 5% of saving, yeah? So then we ran we ran a data, right? We showed that out of 80% of our tail end spend are really not negotiated, 0%, yeah? So they start to think, oh, right, 2% is better than 0%, of course, right? So, so we changed the narrative that to these people that the AI or the ANA is not really replacing you. It's not taking your job, really not. But it enhancements to you. It makes you better, yeah? By using this as your task rather than you can spend most of the time to the high value strategic negotiation. So to say this, yeah, they start to think that they become an architect, whereas ANA or AI will be the contractors who executed the task of the architect. Yeah? So this has changed since then. And then it makes them more comfort when we tell them, you set the rule of engagements, yeah, for ANA to negotiate. So yeah, they have the control. So we address this, what we call, how do you say, the anxiety, loss control anxiety, yeah? So we address the issue.
Amazing, great mindset. Luiz, another question to you. Supply relationships in your world, those are pretty hard won and built over years, right? So how do you see autonomous negotiations actually strengthening those relationships? And I mean, by freeing your team to focus on the partnerships that matter even more?
So just my procurement philosophy is not to tender a category or a portfolio every year, every second year. I think you need to build relationships. And if I pick a fuel, for example, so we have a crisis, have Middle East impacting a lot of prices, a lot of security of supply. So, and required us in procurement to understand. In the last 6 weeks, I learned a lot about fuel. So where it's coming from, what's the price composed by, how long it takes for the vessel to arrive in Australia. So you need to understand the whole supply chain. But with that big tail spend making noise here, you don't have time to do it. So I think that will help for us to focus and build long-term relationships. And the tail span still have the guardrails on how to deliver value. And as I said in the last question, don't impact the experience of the supplier. So then you are addressing relationships on the tail span, but also on the key categories that you have in front of you.
Yeah, great. Khairul, another question to you. Autonomous negotiation effectively handles an entire tier of procurement decisions, right? So what does it free a CPO up to actually focus on? And how does it change the conversation you have with the rest of the business?
Right. I imagine that my conversation with CFO is no longer about how much we can save. Yeah? It's going to be how faster we can grow. Right? So the team, the procurement team will be future ready by spending a lot of time on strategy, on supplier relationship. I imagine because we are vehicle manufacturer. One of our focus now is electric vehicles. Yeah? I imagine that myself will be talking with the battery suppliers, negotiating co-maker agreements with the suppliers, instead of negotiating the commodity deal. Yeah? So the shift will change in terms of procurement will become one of the biggest value creators with regards to the organizations. Especially, you know that 70-80% of our expenses are from procurement spend. So I imagine that they will change in terms of the conversation with the CFO and the CEO.
Interesting. So I know it's early, but I'd really like to hear from the room now. If autonomous negotiation would be available in your organization tomorrow, what do you think? Where would you point it first? Would it be, for instance, tail spend, spot buys, low value contracts, somewhere entirely different? So let's try the raise of hands again. So who would say you would point it at tail spend, because that's the biggest pain? Quite a few. Tail spend, spot buys. Who goes for spot buys? Not so much. Who would go for low value contracts or any creative idea? Creative idea or low contract? Low contract, okay. Because that's also very interesting. Everyone is going for tail spend, and that's where a lot of the business sits. So let me ask you guys before we open it up for a couple of questions. One quick question for you. What should procurement leaders in this room do over the next 90 days to be AI ready for tail spend?
I think the question of 90 days, so what is in the 90 days, and could be longer than that, or we're struggling with our implementation, but we'll get there next month. You need to understand the problem that you're trying to solve. So there's no way you find a solution without understanding what you're trying to solve. So I think yesterday we discussed a lot about data. So Tish mentioned that you need to get the data ready. And I think Andre mentioned that he has Sally to get the data. We cannot recruit Sally, so I think we need to get the data right. So if you get the data right, it's a good foundation for you to embark on that journey. And I think, again, quoting some of the comments from, I think Sira mentioned yesterday that you pick a quick win, so you get a pilot and you implement, where Andrea said, oh, you need to have a full implementation and start and from the scratch. So whatever suits your organization. So yes, the quick win will convince your board, your stakeholders quicker, so we can make your case, and that's what we are doing. So we are trying to return on investment, so they see that, and then we can deliver on top of that. So data, understand your problem, and quick wins.
Yeah, very good. Khairul, what would you say?
Well, similar like Luis. I guess we started by understand what are our pain points. Of course, tail end spend is one of our pain points. It has been always. So then we started with the audit. We do audit on all our data to ensure the completeness of data and so on. And I guess for us it's easier because we are going through the transformations. As I mentioned, we started with consolidate, standardize, and optimize. So again, the advice is data is most important in those. When consolidate, of course, is data. And then we standardize all our process. Make sure that our process are standardized so that when you have agentic AI key in, it's really cater all your processes as well. Then lastly, of course, we optimize it. So again, the advice is do the audit, get the data right, get the process standardized, and then we go for it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.